Call the meeting to order, the Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority, Monday, September 17th at 6:04. Please rise, pay respects to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Charles.
Here.
Ellsworth. Here. Johnston. Here. Rosentrader. She's excused. Schultz.
Here.
Sure. Here. Hisardi. Yes. Oles. Here. Nichols.
Here.
I'll make a motion to excuse Nancy Rosenstrader.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to excuse Nancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Carries. Public comment on non-agenda items. How do we do that? Seeing none. Consent agenda.
Yes, before we approve for the agenda, I want to take 7B off the agenda. That needs to go to council first.
7B.
7B,
As in boy.
as in boy. If there's no other changes, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as,
I have some questions, sir. As soon as you're ready, Sue.
I'm sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, I have
Continue
a
your
question
motion.
about it when you're done.
Oh, I make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second that.
All right. Been moved and support. Discussion.
Sue, could you explain that, please?
What, that I want to take that to council?
Sure, yeah. I guess there's two parts. That would be part B. Part A was, what is that proposal?
To create a full-time position? Did you read the agenda?
Yeah, I did. So maybe you should know more about what this position is.
Well, the position would be somebody to work 3 days in the village and 2 days for the DDA.
In addition to the director.
Yes.
And the protocol would be first the village council approves it and then the DDA approves it?
No, but I think that the council needs to address it first.
No, but yes.
We have to mutually approve it.
Right, that's what I'm asking you.
Right. But it needs to start at council and go to the DDA.
And that's what I just asked you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. There's no other discussion. All in favor of the amended agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? The approval of the August 20th regular meeting minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for August 20th.
Support.
It's been moved. Support. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The reports?
You want to make a motion on the treasurer's report first?
We can do it, or we can take everything else there under the consent agenda and do it all at one.
Okay.
It's up to you.
All right, I'll make a motion then. We receive and file all the reports from treasurer's report, including the bills for September, $19,911.94. The revenue expense report, also the police report, the code enforcement report, the DPW report, and the executive director's report.
I'll support.
It's been moved. Support. Any questions?
I do.
Dorothy.
So Glenn, can you touch on this DPW report, what that represents?
DPW report provides a summary of their activities for the previous month.
As it pertains to,
As it pertains to everything.
Okay.
Highlight of their activities. No, it doesn't include mow the lawn. I don't think it includes mow the lawn.
They did include that.
Yeah,
I just-
Scott.
I didn't know if it was like what they do for us, to sort of show.
This is the exact same report that they prepare for council.
Okay.
So this isn't what it does, what they supposedly do for DDA?
No, it does not.
Like some of the issues that Nicole's brought up in the past and things like that? Okay. Glenn, what do we kick in toward DPW?
$50,000.
$50,000 a year. Is there any way that's broken down?
Most of that money is spent on snow removal in the wintertime. Approximately 63% of that is spent on snow removal.
Say 63%?
Yes, based on last year's numbers. Another portion of that's spent on our events. Saturdays for overtime for our events, and you're spent on maintenance and cleaning. We actually pay less than what they do for us.
How do you know?
Looking at their billable hours for what they've done, they do about $75,000 to $85,000 worth of work.
I mean, are you tracking that, or you can make that statement?
I look at their reports, I look at what they billed for us for last year's events, and what they billed on snow. Don keeps track of that by time card analysis.
So he breaks it apart, is what you're saying.
When I was with the village council, one of the things I did in my homework is dig into that and make sure that everything was kosher, because we were working with their budgets as well. And believe me, he was straight on, so he did well. I suspect that hasn't changed.
Well, I appreciate seeing this.
Yeah, I do too. I think a part of the problem is that when we, if it's spent for snow removal and that doesn't happen, that's probably where the questions come up with people. It's like, that's a lot of money for the snow not to be removed.
Right.
30,000 and change, yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Charles?
Yes.
Ellsworth?
Yes.
Johnston?
Yes.
Schultz?
Yes.
Yes for me. Lasardi?
Yes.
Bowles?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Unfinished old business? Main Street, Oakland County Flagstar Placemaking Grant?
We received a $2,500 grant from Main Street Oakland County. This grant program funded by the National Bank. We used for improvements to Riverside Village, in the southeast quadrant of downtown, primarily the two alleyways. That'll be happening starting in about the next 10 days.
Okay. Good job.
Yeah.
Well, expanding on it a little bit, I met with you last week. We looked around, a little report on what's going on there. Is that part of that grant, something separate, or what?
Depending on how much money that we can save because of the time of year and the pricing on the equipment, most of what we're looking at purchasing is significantly discounted. So we'll be able to leverage that and expand the scope of that into the adjacent landscape. Probably improve all of the landscaping beds in that quadrant under this grant.
Awesome.
Someone understand what you're saying there? Catch that? The flower beds behind there and whatnot, too. Now, you said equipment. What equipment are you talking about?
We're looking at getting some bistro furniture, some umbrellas, some other chairs.
Okay.
I'm sorry, if you could speak up just...
I'm sorry, I've got
Thank
a
you.
head cold and allergy,
Yeah, okay.
so it's hard for me to be loud. We're looking at purchasing bistro furniture for the alleyways and purchasing landscaping plants this time of year. Most of that type of materials are on significant discount.
Right.
So we're getting half price sales as opposed to when we put the budget together. So instead of $12 for a perennial, we're looking at spending $5 for a perennial. So we can leverage that and expand our efforts to fill that entire quadrant.
What are we waiting for? Very good.
Awesome.
Good deal.
You told me you fell into orders today.
All right. New business, the draft vision statement.
Okay, now I again.
Should we check that mug?
Last March, when we did our Main Street evaluation, one of the things they commented on was our vision statement needed to be better at painting a picture of what we wanted to see in downtown Oxford. So basically what I did is I went to the old 2015 vision statement when they told us to shorten it, brought back that one. So what I'd like you to do is look at that one over the next month, bring back any comments or edits, and then we'll put together and adopt a new vision statement for the downtown district. So that for our evaluation in January, they go, oh, I like this vision statement.
The org committee looked at it, reviewed through it, and just in reading it, it basically paints it out pretty clear as far as what the village is supposed to look like and do. My personal opinion off the record is every single time they come in for a review, it's like when you get a new person or something different. Oh, you need to redo your vision statement, which we did. You need to do the goals, which we did. You know, so it's almost the next time a new person comes in, they want a new statement out of you. So
They can fill a report better than, right?
well, exactly. And then you go back and you look at what we had before, and it's like that looks better than anything we've had. So that's what the committee was recommending to come back for everybody to look at. So.
That's called progress, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, moving on. The Oxford Holiday Weekend Partnership.
I was approached by the Oxford Area Chamber of Commerce to talk about creating a partnership agreement between DDA and the Oxford Area Chamber of Commerce. Before I went any further into discussions with them on possible potential cooperative agreements, I wanted to bring it to you folks to let you know that I was going to be meeting with Amy and we were going to talk about this, see where it goes from there. There's an opportunity to leverage both events into one bigger, greater event to kick off the season. At this point, I have no idea where the discussions are going to go. I just wanted to keep you abreast of the fact that I was going to be having these conversations.
Is that the soup stroll?
Soup and stroll, plus the Christmas parade, plus Santa in the park, plus that whole weekend's worth of activities.
So would it just be on this one event? It wouldn't be a long-term partnership?
We're looking at one event. We're having discussions about it. We'll see if anything comes out of it that we can bring a formal partnership agreement to. I'll bring it back next month. They asked. I just wanted to inform you before I started any of this.
Elgin?
I think for some time we have not had any type of relationship in partnership with the chamber, and I've tried to encourage this DDA to get with them and they to get with us and do more together. And I think it makes good sense that they're reaching out their hand, you know, to co-partnership with us on certain events. I think it's a great idea, in personal opinion.
I agree.
I think that you have to be careful, though, because the DDA money can only be spent within the district. So, for instance, if they were asking us to co-partner with the Expo, say, we could not participate in that. But if there are events within the district, that's where the DDA money can be spent, not outside.
I think before anything is done, if I might say, is that we do look at the financial side of it as well and what's going to take for both sides to do it and have a common interest in terms of what's provided and that they agree on it and we agree on it. Okay. That would settle that.
Sue?
We took a vote within the past 6 or 8 months about limiting the number of events that the DDA would be involved in. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was 3. Correct?
I believe it was.
3 events. And so then, what's motivating them to ask for this? Because is it about the new rule that whoever has an event is going to have to pay for DPW? Or is it that they want to share the work? Because our event brings in more for this town. We had 10,000 people, and we didn't really have. We had support, but not from the DDA to speak of, really, because of the fact that we had voted about not getting involved. So it's just kind of feeling a little bit like when we were in the Joe Madeira's office, he said we have to have the same for everybody. This doesn't feel like the same. Seems like that event did a lot more for this town.
Then again, they may have events too that might be, you know, a little one-sided on their side. They may be looking at it too. It's all under, I think, negotiation that we need to work in unison to try to work out these details.
Rod? Well, we had another point too, Glenn, that Pete had made a few, 3 or 4 meetings ago, that how much time are you going to spend on non-DDA things like these kind of events? I mean, do we bill the chamber for your time for doing this? The chamber has 252 members who pay dues, right? 252, exactly. I'm a little surprised that out of 252 people, they have apparently some difficulty doing their event, and they need to have the DDA do it.
This isn't an...
And they have a paid employee to boot?
We do have a paid director. This is not an attempt to pawn off the events on each other. I think this is an opportunity to look for leveraging.
Yes, it is. No, I had discussion with him.
I have too.
With who?
Just going to look and see where the discussions go. And I won't make any agreements. I'll bring back a draft document and we will discuss it and say, does this make good sense for the DDA? I just wanted to have this in front of you before I went and had the conversations. Because I know there's discussion about more of a parade. They have to pay for the insurance policy for the parade. They may have to pay for DPW for the parade. And so I can't read their motivations at this point. I'm going to sit down and have a chat.
Elgin?
I think that we should give him the goal to at least discuss, you know, open it up for discussion, find out exactly what they want, and then bring it back to us.
Do we know if the DDA in Lake Orion and the chamber work side by side?
They partner on events.
They do.
And they partner with the Art Center.
And they, you know what, their town is very successful. I think we need to be open to take a look at it. I think it makes the DDA look good that they're trying to work with the chamber.
I would agree, but I think that, first of all, my first comment would be Lake Orion has like 4 times as much money as Oxford
They didn't,
DDA
but
does.
they
Village
used
doesn't.
to.
But they do now. And I think that some of the conversation has been around the fact that, as Susan brought up, there's going to be a cost for, whether it's full cost or divided cost or whatever, for some of the events for DPW and for the police department. And our insurance company has already told us that we cannot be covering these events because they're not DDA events. They're other people's events or other organizations. And I think that the chamber is upset because, just like we told the Lone Ranger, we cannot pay for that, the insurance. And also the village took $77,000 out of their savings this year to balance our budget. And it's going to be probably more next year. And we've had citizens who have complained and said, we don't want our tax dollars being used for that. We have streets that need to be paved. We have parking lots that are in total disrepair. There's a lot of things that the village needs to be spending their money on. And just like the DDA, the other organizations are going to have to go out and look for sponsors. We have to find sponsors for our concerts in the park. We don't put the full amount in there. And we get sponsors to do for the other 2 events that we have. And it's going to have to be that way for organizations. And it's like, I don't know who said that the chamber has 250 members. I don't know that.
252.
662 members.
52.
And some of those members are going to have to step up and be sponsors for some of the events that they want to do.
But is the chamber
So-
asking to come in to our Christmas event? That the chamber's asking, right, to be a part of our chamber, our Christmas event?
We're going to explore opportunities to merge the two events into one.
We should talk with her.
Glenn, did you say into one weekend or one day?
One weekend.
So Soup and Street Stroll was on Friday night, and if they want to do the parade and everything on the next day, so be it. I mean, that's not our event on Saturday. If they want to happen to be on our same weekend, I don't think there's an issue, but as far as our event is not commingled with...
No, it's actually a very separate event, and there's not a lot of crossover between the two events.
So why are we having this
It's a matter
discussion?
of coordinating for weekends is what they're trying to look at.
No, it's a matter of how can we expose our constituents to these events. So the folks who come to Soup and Stroll, a lot of them are there because they've got kids in the choir performing,
Right.
or they want to come down as a date night. And so we want to be able to look at how we can expose our attendees on Friday night to chamber members and how we can expose our businesses on Saturday during the chamber event. So we cross leverage those and see if we can't get something out of that more than having two separate events.
Elgin?
Okay, I understand all the concerns that Soup sort of has concerning the village, but the village is a whole different subject than what we're dealing with here. I believe, really, as I stated before, that we need to gain more information, more fact-seeking information. I'm under the impression that the more people we have involved in a project, the more successful, at least it may be. And I think it warrants looking into it deeper.
Dorothy?
I just lost how I wanted to ask you this, but I guess my question in that discussion, Glenn, would be what would the benefit as a non-chamber member be a part of that?
Well, right now, we're not engaged and involved to any level with the chamber storefront decoration, Santa in the park, the reindeer in the park, the parade. We're not involved in that.
So that would, this whole unity, if it comes together, would then embrace non-chamber members to
Yes.
be able to participate?
Yes.
I think it would give us greater exposure, is my opinion, but...
Chamber.
Is this like joint
Pete?
advertising?
This wouldn't, well, there would be potential for joint advertising on this, but that's not part of it. It could go there, but the intent is just to have the exploratory discussions and see if this is a logical place to build those two activities together.
Rod?
What I'm hearing is that we would have, to Pete's point, our event on Friday night, Chamber has theirs on Saturday night. So why do this? They're separate. So keep, you know, I don't, it's already there. So here again, are they going to pay for your time? Are they going to pay for part of your salary if you're involved with this? I mean, I think that would be something reasonable too. And I perfectly understand and accept, by the way, Sue, about, you know, paying for separate insurance and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, the money we'd save would be great, but I think one of the issues we also face is consistency. Because I talked with Joe Medor about this at length on a number of occasions. I've got in fact, an email I was reviewing today, I don't know if I have it here with me, from Joe about the issue when the form came out, that we fill out the form, pay the $50. Okay, we were the first ones to do it, right? So you probably saw the form. And we bought our own liability insurance. And the question would be is, so now we do this for every group, every entity? What about Experience Oxford? What about all the other events? I mean, we're going to have things like this coming out our ears. You know, the idea is we're going to do it for one, you're going to do it for all. You're going to open the door, it's going to stay open. You're going to say, oh, that's not my intention. We want to get together and have fun and, you know, synergy. But I think there's an issue here with lack of consistency.
As far as I'm aware, that any events that you guys were the first, and any events that have occurred after that have done the same way.
Sue?
So I could see where the partnership could be in the promotional aspect of it, that we get, it could be a big weekend, they with their events and we with our events, advertising for the event. I could see how that would accomplish what we've been saying would be good for us and good for our image. But as far as the I mean, we did have a vote about limiting ours to 3, and now what was the point of that? I just think that we could do it, but still say separate.
Pete? The other issue we face is, we talked about this, I know when I first got on the DDA board a number of years ago, was limiting the amount of events that the DDA is involved with. That's where the 3 came out, right?
Correct.
And obviously, I'm not afraid of having events. I think it's great for community events to have things. And Lone Ranger, obviously, is the one event we have that brings in outsiders. That being said, I go back to the consistency issue. And if we're going to do it for one, we're going to do it for everybody. You know, that cat's out of the bag, it's going to stay out of the bag. I think we could get away with saying, hey, the same weekend. But I think there's an issue there.
So what's the board's pleasure?
Doesn't hurt to talk.
Right. I don't see any reason why you can't talk, but I think that we need to kind of understand what it is that this partnership means. I have my own thoughts, but I would like to know what else it involves. I mean, I think we already do advertising with the chamber, because I see our events in the chamber newsletter, and I see us promoting the other events that other people are doing. I mean, you guys, we publicized Nicole's event that she did with the Magician in the Park. That was in both. I think that it's already occurring. And hopefully when we get the village website and the DDA one, it will be on, all events should be publicized equally, just like the chamber is currently doing. So I see no harm in talking, but I guess everybody, like Rod says, needs to be treated equally.
I say send this guy out and have him get more information for us and come back and find out exactly what we can do.
Do you need a motion to say that it's okay to talk to the chamber, find out what it is that they want a partnership on? Bring a report
Don't need
back
an
next
official
month?
motion. If you want to make one, you can.
Do we need a motion, or can we just say, Glenn, you brought this up in an informal fashion, we'll give it back to you in an informal fashion, because what you're hearing is there's this serious misgivings about this for a number of different legitimate reasons. Okay? Is that coming across? Because I think there's an issue there, not just for this event, but other events, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So if you want to talk to Amy, go talk to her, but, you know, you might want to tell her about the misgivings here, okay?
Will do.
Okay. Nothing was removed from the consent agenda.
Did we do D?
We didn't.
No, you took it off.
You took it off.
No, I took B as in boy.
B as in boy off. D is, did we have any other items that were removed from the consent agenda? And that would be no. So that would be professional.
It's usually under a separate thing at council, so anyway.
Professional development, partnerships.
As most of you know, I'm in the process of sorting through the last 15 years of files from the DDA, determining what goes into my office, and what goes into long-term storage, and what goes into the recycling bin. One of the things I happened to trip over was a collection of old Main Street Now magazines, and I found a very interesting article. And one of the things that I'm finding in all of these files, where they're squirreled away under various titles, are some best practices. And so I just wanted to share this one with you at this time around. We had a conversation about professional development for the board at the last board committee meeting, and we're going to look at bringing some folks in from outside of the village. Frankly, I know you're sick of hearing from me every month.
Oh, I love hearing from you.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll keep but I thought this was really interesting, and it looks at options and opportunities so that, you know, maybe we do reach out to the school district and utilize their honor society and some of their other programs for volunteer programs that we do with our events, or just ongoing events within the DDA in terms of beautification or other options. And so it just, I found it to be a very interesting read with regards to generating ideas for things that we could look towards doing once we're in position to look at those. But I just thought it was a good read. So I'll be recycling all of these old Main Street Now magazines to you.
Dorothy?
I have a question. I mean, when I hear partnerships, I hear partnering up with Lone Ranger and the Chamber as well. And my concern is this new insurance thing that's popped up. Is that going to be detrimental to us having outside sources want to come in and have events that aren't driven financially by our organization?
I'm going to assume that anything that we're not the fiduciary agent, we can't extend any of the benefits of being the fiduciary agent, so that we can't say, oh, by the way, you can come do the park, partner with us and do this. No, I'm looking at things like, can we partner with the Lapeer EDC to do economic development on a two-count, as we're doing economic development, do we want to do things with them as opposed to competing with Southern Oakland County in terms of economic development? We're much more aligned with Lapeer County in terms of the types of firms that are going to locate here. Things of that nature. I'm just talking off the top of my head in terms of partnerships. Working with the school, they need to have volunteer hours for their students. They need to have community outreach projects. We have those things. They want to get a bunch of volunteers together, come paint park benches on a Saturday afternoon. That's great. It's just exploring those opportunities with other organizations and entities, not for events purposes, but to accomplish things, get to joint visions.
So going back to that thing there with partnership, et cetera, with some of the comments I've heard when I spoke with different folks and over the last few meetings, I think we've all made comment, every one of us here, about empty buildings, empty storefronts in town. Is there some way to get some of this to help with some of the lack of vitality that we have in town? Especially when we have the 2020 project coming up. I'm sure that's going to be a huge issue, right?
Oakland County just recently hired a retail recruitment specialist to work with the Main Street communities. She's working on a project with Farmington right now. I believe we're next in the queue, so that we can then tackle her expertise and her networks to look at refining what we're doing, pull together a package of materials to put out to commercial realtors. But there's a limited number of commercial realtors in this neighborhood, and so my network is not that large in terms of retail recruitment, but one-stop shop Oakland County is, and so.
Sue?
Is there any reason, Glenn, that we can't enlist the art department to either paint the insides of window or do paintings, and we can set them up on easels rather than just seeing the empty storefronts? I know this has been talked about before, but it never really got off the ground. But if you're talking about doing partnerships like that, which at least makes you look at the window and it's something to look at other than an empty storefront.
I would love to be able to do storefront art in downtown.
Dorothy?
Would you have to let your enforcement officer know that? Because that would seem like something he would do all over. Yeah, I don't know.
Set them back X number of feet from the window.
Good job, Dorothy.
I saw that as a hindrance. I mean, I think it would be a great idea, but you guys would have to approve that, at the council
Right.
level, probably.
I'm just curious, what are these property owners doing? People that own these buildings, are they making any aggressive effort to fill these buildings at all? And if so, what are they doing? How are they doing it?
Some are.
Can't expect us to do it all here.
Right.
Or try to.
Some of the rents have come down closer to what the market rate would be. So that's one thing that's happened, is there's some rental rate correction going on.
Has that helped fill some of these buildings? Would you say, or not?
We'll see when it happens. There are parcels, there are empty storefronts in the core downtown that are above what the market rate would indicate to be bearing in this area.
So what would that market rate be?
My best guess on rental rates for this downtown should be right around 14 based on population and demographics and what we've got.
On how many square feet?
14 a square foot per year.
Is it
triple net?
What type of business is that?
That's a generic retail. Restaurant's going to be a little higher. office is going to be a little lower.
So 14.
That's the solid middle zone.
Are you,
Nicole?
I did have a little talk today with Chuck, and he did share with Sue and I this morning that basically he ran an ad in all of the newspapers, print and online, 67,000 people. His ad, full page color, it reached 67,000 people. He got not one phone call.
What was it for?
For rental space in the Oxford area. Commercial.
You mean say that he had rental space
Yes,
and he was looking for people to rent? Yeah.
And so not one phone call. He had to actually go check the ad to see if he had the wrong phone number on there. That's a lot. So, I mean, to me, I look at it as like maybe people think, if you start a new business, it takes a couple years to get established. With this whole thing going on with M24, like, why do it now? Type of thing. I mean, that's what I'm getting from people. Like, if they're barely making it now, they're not gonna make it through construction. So they got out before that happened is basically what I've heard from several people. And then why come in right now and have to try to make it through that period of time? It's like we've kind of have all this hype about this construction and what all these problems it's going to bring to our retail, and we expect people to want to come move in here. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I think if you accept the fact that sometimes in life you have to take a couple steps backwards in order to go forward, it makes sense. I mean, all that stuff needs to be done, but I don't think that we should just leave it the way it is in the meantime. That's 2 years away, and in all honesty, it's horrible out there, and nothing gets done. So I think that's part of the reason we, keep asking what's getting done, because truly, I mean, we don't see a whole lot happening all day from that diner. There's garbage and mess and cigarette butts, and I mean, we can only do so much. I mean, having some sort of cleanup effort or something like that, maybe with the businesses. I mean, I think we need to start that small.
Wasn't that DPW right there, cigarette butts and stuff? We were just talking about that early in the meeting, right?
I don't see a whole lot of like hitting the pavement cleaning going on. I mean, all summer long, I haven't seen any, to be honest with you. I'm there all day, all windows.
Yeah, you're there more than most folks. You would see
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
Elgin?
no, I was just going to say that during this modification that they're going to be doing, for M24, it is a kind of scary thing to a business. You have to make a value to these people to come in. If that means reducing the rent, I'm saying cutting it really low to get them in here so they can get a start, whatever is necessary. I think these property owners need to get on board. And I agree with her too, Nicole, that we need to make sure that this town looks clean, that it's presentable, for when these businesses do approach us.
So as a business owner, how do you do that? I called Joe last week because I had 3 barrels from the road construction still sitting in front of my building for 3 weeks. And I called Joe. The next day they were picked up. Then I asked him, could the sweepers go down the sidewalk once a week? No, that's not in the budget. Once a week. The gravel trucks bring so much dirt.
Right, and so my fear is that we're going to let them continue down the downtown area after all this construction, and then it's going to be the same thing. So, I mean, I know that's a whole nother can of worms, but it's discouraging to people because now we want to speed people through town and do all this stuff and put everything in the back, and it's just, I mean, we can't just let it go to the wayside in the meantime. We have to do something now.
Rod?
No, I'm agreeing with Nicole there. I think we can do some things right now. Cleaning up is great. I mean, it's like a restaurant. I mean, my other house up in Tawas, there's a real nice restaurant about a mile away, but a lot of people drive by it because there's weeds growing in front. Once you get inside, it's a great place, but a lot of people drive by because it's unkempt.
Curb appeal.
Yeah, there's no curb appeal. Thank you.
You have to clean your windows and stuff. I see a lot of the businesses, we do get a lot of dust around there. I have to get mine, and I have all windows. It's every single week.
And you know, springtime, or even like we were talking about, Glenn, you know, let's get some flowers planted. I mean, like we were talking about when Glenn and I went a little walk around back the other side, you know, the east quadrant, southeast quadrant. There's a lot of places there that could be just cleaned up, and it wouldn't cost a ton of money.
Right.
And we get a big bang for the buck on that kind of appearance, cleaning it up and putting in some flowers. That's huge.
Where is the business owner's responsibility in some of this?
That's what I...
Well, Sue, to that point,
You have to take pride in your business, and you have to take pride in what you're showing to the outside world.
Absolutely.
You never rent or you never wash your windows, and if you've got weeds growing out, and you got weeds in your flower basket that you sit outside the door, and half of them are dead, where is the business owner's responsibility? You cannot count, you could not afford to have DPW worker be uptown all the time doing some of this work that the business owners, in my opinion, need to do for themselves. My dad was in business for years downtown. He went in early every day, he swept the sidewalk, he washed his windows, and then he opened the doors. You need to have some of that responsibility go back to the owners. Some of these outside dining areas, you don't happen to be one of them, but they're littered with trash.
Or cigarette butts.
Or cigarette butts. That's not our responsibility. That is the business owner's responsibility to keep that clean.
Okay, but well, I think what we're saying is she cleans her windows, I clean mine, we sweep off, but what about the vacant? Those vacant, could we put something in order that says even if your business is vacant, you're still responsible for the windows, for, I've got cigars. The guys up above me smoke cigars, and they sit outside the bakery, and I walk in every morning, and there's cigar butts. That shouldn't be my responsibility in front of the bakery and the liquor store, right? That's all dead space, and it's a mess. So can we put something in place that if it's a vacant building, they're responsible for keeping that up?
Elgin?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I agree with Susan. What your dad did is what I did every day when I owned businesses.
Right.
And I was in business for 39 years, and you keep things neat. But if they don't, in this case here, maybe it's DPW's responsibility to run through and kind of check it out. But I agree that the business owner or the property owner needs to maintain it. I mean, if there's no resident in that building, then the property owner's responsibility. So they need to be notified that they need to do this and keep it up.
And some of the worst offenders have they're not out of business. They're in business and windows that look like they have chocolate milk on them. How can you get people to have that pride? They're there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I got a question for you. You know, I agree with what you're saying, by the way, about business owners. And going back to what a little walk around I did with Glenn, you know, behind the little building I have there, you know, that place is overgrown with weeds. You know, I went over there and dug them all up, filled up 3 huge bags, got rid of all this stuff. And the rock, I mean, the ground is solid rock, it felt like when I was digging. I spent 2 days doing that. But it doesn't belong to me, just, you know, I found out it's actually village property. So what do you do in that situation? I mean, I'm perfectly willing to do it. I spent 2 days pulling the weeds and digging up trees and all kinds of stuff, and I'm out there, like I said, but then we found out, you know, Glenn showed the map, that's village property back there. Where do we, I'm perfectly willing to do it, and I think other people might be, maybe they need to be pushed or something like that.
So is that going to be part of the perennials that, yeah.
With that spot there, and then the spot behind the embroidery as well?
Yep.
Okay, so here again, how do we push that forward instead of, you know, I keep hearing, well, we'll wait for Wayne or Oakland County to show up and all this stuff. Let's get it going. You know, let's not be a bureaucracy.
I will tell you that on 4th of July, another business owner downtown, I'm going to say who it is, it's Michael that owns the Hawaiian Ice. He spent 4th of July morning when nobody was in town. I pulled in, and he's out there with a power washer, and he's doing all the sidewalks, and he's doing all around the park, and that's how he spent his 4th of July, okay? It just takes a power washer to get those sidewalks nice. So, I mean, I just think a little bit of effort. If the business owners saw the DPW out there doing some stuff, maybe it would motivate them to do stuff too, you know? I don't know. I'm saying maybe if we had some sort of cleaning event or, you know, some kind of open house where we could have all the empty business, you know, buildings there and kind of showcase the businesses that we do have and, you know, potential, you know, businesses come in and check out the spaces. I mean, it's hard to even get in touch with some of these people to even look at the space, you know? So maybe if the DDA could, you know, get in touch with them and say, hey, let's do this open house. You have a hard time too?
They don't call me back either.
Well, that's great.
It's the same ones, or the vacant ones, that you're going to start running into that didn't shovel their snow last winter either.
Right.
So they don't, it's,
Well, I mean, what do we do about that then? There has to be something that can be done as far as tickets or, you know.
Well, Sue's right in the middle of that, aren't you? Sue with the village council?
Got a
they've worked
snow
on it.
removal
Yep,
policy
they just
now.
started it. So
We're going to be enforcing it.
Sue, could you, if you don't mind, repeat that policy? I know it's been around, but what is the policy for this coming winter as far as snow removal?
You have to have, don't quote me, do you remember it totally? Within 24 hours, well, I can't either, so don't hold me to this, but within 24 hours of the last snowfall, that your sidewalks have to be shoveled.
Does that go for the parking lots too? I think that we have to be accountable as well if the business owner is going to be accountable. Our customers can't even get in there without wearing boots, and this isn't 24 hours. We're talking till it melts, it's there. And that was all winter. So like, if you're going to tell people you got to clear your snow, well then we got to clear those parking lots too. You know, it's got.
It's my understanding that the parking lots are done first.
They're
Bye.
pretty good in ours.
Ours is not, ever.
And I have, then you need to tell me, or you need to talk to Joe about it.
Okay. Well, I
Because
think we did all last winter.
we have not had any complaints about parking lots. Usually the DPW is out there, they work through the night
Well,
and
maybe
clear
it's
the
just
parking
the
lots
straight
first.
away. That's the one way in front of, in between the park. That never gets done. I mean, it's ice when it ices over. You know, big trenches of, I mean, my ladies can't even get out of their cars and come in the diner all winter. When they have their work shoes on. Pretty sure like all last winter, it said, the snow is horrible.
Glenn, anything else on professional development?
No, just enjoy the reading, and we will bring together some outside folks to talk about things. We're working on bringing in someone to do storefront display, training for business owners.
Thank you very much for the information provided.
You know, I just want to make one last statement if I could. You know, it's very frustrating supposedly to a lot of these business people out there, but they don't think DDA is doing anything for them or not much. We're trying to bust our fanny here to make it so it's nice downtown, and they need to roll up their sleeves and make it happen too. If their neighboring business isn't doing it, they need to talk to them. Say, look, I don't like those dirty windows, maybe you should do something about that.
Point taken.
I got chewed out for saying something to somebody.
Board member comments. Sue?
Thank you for getting that grant for us, Glenn. And one more comment about this, you know, the maintenance of the town. There was an empty lot, and for the longest time, you know, the weeds grew. Eventually, Glenn called, and it just turned out that the owner out of town didn't realize it was in such bad shape, and he hired somebody and cleaned it up. So maybe it's just a matter of sending out a polite note letter, you know, and telling them that it's not up to our standards, and please take care of it. Maybe that's all it would need. Some of them. Other ones, maybe we can go and talk to them. They're businesses that are there. Quadrant leaders go and talk to them. I would do that. Anyway.
Rod?
Well, maybe we should change the slogan to make Oxford clean again. We're good. Next.
Elgin?
I just want to comment about Drew Benson. He's working with the website. He's doing a good job with it, and I think if all goes as planned, we should see new websites for DDA and for the council.
Very good. Dorothy?
Hope you feel better, Glenn.
Sue?
No comment.
Sue? Think about it.
We're
I
not
could say so
saying
much. I agree. I don't know how to instill pride in people. And it's not just the businesses downtown, it's the village. It's hard to, and it's not everybody in the village, don't get me wrong, but it's very hard to instill that feeling in people. Some people go all out and keep up their property, and then there's others that just ignore it. And I think a lot of that happens when you have property owners that do not live in the village or live in Oxford. They live in Detroit, they never come out here. It's like income for them, and when they don't have income, they don't have income. They don't think to come and monitor what the property looks like or anything else. So if we could find a way to instill that pride. I know we've got a problem too, and I've addressed it with people parking on the sidewalks. And that's in the process of being addressed, because I've witnessed it, taken pictures.
In the village, residential areas?
Not in the residential areas, in the downtown.
On the sidewalks, really?
Yep.
Right up to the overhang.
Really?
That's being addressed. So we'd appreciate the public not parking on the sidewalks.
Nicole?
Yeah. I just want to thank Glenn for all this information, and I really like the idea of the cross-promotion between businesses. We do a lot of that now with Funky Monkey and stuff like that, and I do see a big thing on the mom's page about like kids needing tutors. So if you're going to use the National Honor Society, I think maybe we can do something like in the community room or something, just kids, teaching kids this Common Core math and stuff like that, that would make the DDA, would show us in a good light, you know, helping the community in a small way that wouldn't cost any money, that, you know, maybe once a week or something we could do something like that. Good idea. There's definitely a need for it.
Glenn, thanks again for your work on the grant and the other grants that you've been working on. I mean, every little bit of that helps go towards the overall project on everything. Good discussion on the entire downtown and everything back and forth. There's got to be as much effort as the DDA is putting in. The actual store owners themselves need to be putting in a whole lot more effort too. I mean, it would be great to be able to open a business and then turn around and expect someone else to plow my lot for me, someone else to sweep my sidewalks, someone else to pick up my trash, someone else to take care of the outside of my building, someone else to pay for my facade grant, someone else to pay for my sign. I mean, it's a good racket, I guess, if you look at it that way.
It's called Detroit.
But I think it's it's got to be homegrown pride in your community. Absentee ownership isn't the best way, and doesn't work that great. So until actually you live here, you work here, you own it here, it makes a big difference. It's mine, and you're happy to stick your name out front there. So I think it's an effort on everybody's part that needs to be moving forward. So thank you on everyone on that part of it. So extended public comment. Glenn, step on up.
Just a couple things. I just wanted to give you an update on what I've been specifically working on with you guys. I didn't know if there was a section on the agenda for this or not, but I like to give you an update. So, one thing, Oakland County has their annual book that they put out for properties that are available for development in the community. So we put in a good amount of time gathering that information, getting a packet of information out that we can share with developers. We are actively trying to get investment in this downtown. Glenn works a little bit more with the retail aspect of it, but we are trying to get development of our vacant parcels as well as like Hampton Block is for sale, for instance. So looking at different ways that we can make that available to redevelop. So that's been something we've been looking at. We worked with the folks who are putting on Witches Night Out, not a tremendous amount of effort, but trying to help them publicize their event and get it through the process with the village. So that's looking like a nice business owner driven event that, if we can provide some sort of guidance on how to best get it done, hopefully we can do that. Scarecrow, we have an advertising strategy put together and ready. We're putting it in motion as we speak. And that's looking very good, so we're feeling good about that. One update about, this came up at the last village council meeting, but I thought it might be interesting for you all to be aware of it, that we had some business owners come out and express that they weren't happy about the being cited for having the outdoor storage of and sales of their goods in the C1 transition district. This is a topic that was addressed, that was looked at by the Planning Commission, DDA board, and Village Council nearly 10 years ago without much of a resolution in the C1 transition district. So on my village time, I've been putting together a report for council on that topic. Not sure where that will go with council, but it may be something that if there are any policy decisions about it going forward, that the DDA should have an opportunity to be involved in that as well. So just to, that is something that's come up that regards your district. And yeah, we're making progress with the website. We've got some wireframe layouts that we've sent over to revise, and we're in the process of working with them to get them solidified, and then the content migration will begin. We're still looking at late fall for those websites to launch. That's what I got for you.
Thanks, Drew. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn at, let me see what time we have, 6:55.
Support. Been moved, support to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Appeals, opposed, same thing? We are adjourned.
Good job.